Hey guys, welcome back to the Readers. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. I am not sure if this is pro-revenge, so I will let you all decide. If not, let me know and I will move it. I will say in advance, sorry for the long one, but the backstory is relevant. In late 2021, I started working for a major tech company in the UK. The company was establishing a new division with offices in London. When I joined, there were 2 team leaders and the office manager. The teams were split between content and SEO, search engine optimization. I was brought in as the development team lead for web development. During my interview with both the office manager and SEO team lead, I handled the technical questions confidently. "Can you implement responsive designs across all platforms?" they asked. "Absolutely, but I'd suggest using a progressive enhancement approach for better performance," I replied. I landed the job and the first year was incredibly busy. Besides building my team, I had to handle a massive portfolio of websites needing complete overhauls. That's when the red flags started appearing. The SEO team lead, let's call him Marcus, would frequently approach my desk. "You need to implement these changes exactly as I've specified," he'd demand. "That's not the best approach," I'd respond. "The current web standards suggest..." Marcus would storm off, muttering under his breath, and complain to the office manager. When questioned, I'd explain my technical reasoning, and the office manager would back off, recognizing my expertise. This pattern repeated several times until I realized Marcus had expected me to be his yes man. "Sorry, mate, that's not who I am." Now for the events leading to the revenge. My team and I had been working intensively on 2 major website launches, and I was scheduled to present them to the board. The company's headquarters was in another city, so I left London around noon. Arriving at my hotel across from headquarters around 4 p.m., I opened my laptop for final testing. That's when disaster struck. We discovered a critical bug affecting core functionality. Enter Ryan, not his real name, my senior developer and the key player in this story. "Ryan, we need to fix this before tomorrow's presentation," I said over our video call. "I'm on it," Ryan replied. "Let's tackle this systematically." We worked through the night, me in the hotel room and Ryan in the London office. At 7 a.m., we finally squashed the bug. My board meeting was at 10 a.m., so I freshened up and headed over running on zero sleep. The CEO noticed my exhausted state immediately. "Are you all right? You look like you've had a rough night." I explained about the last-minute fix, and the meeting went brilliantly. They loved the new sites. Afterward, the CEO pulled me aside. "Go home and get some rest," he insisted. "You've earned it." After taking my team out for a celebratory lunch the next day, the office manager organized a Friday night out. We started at an upscale bar, not my scene. I prefer simpler places, before moving to a small club. I left early to catch my train home. Monday morning, something felt off. I spoke with Sarah, not her real name, the content team lead. The office was buzzing with people from headquarters and HR. We team leaders were soon called into a cramped meeting room. HR explained that Raj, another fictitious name, from the SEO team, had reported Ryan for making racist comments at the club. Sarah and I were shocked. This was completely out of character for Ryan. For context, Ryan, Sarah, and I are white British. Marcus is British Nigerian, and Raj is British Indian. The day was spent interviewing everyone present that night. In our final meeting, HR reported that no one could corroborate Raj's story. Marcus was furious. "We can't keep someone like that in the office," he shouted, pounding the table. Sarah caught my eye, both of us sensing something wasn't right. Ryan received a warning about being mindful of how his words might be interpreted, but kept his job. 2 months later, Dave from the content team pulled me aside. "You need to hear this," he whispered, leading me to a meeting room. I overheard Marcus and Raj talking. What he revealed made my blood boil. The racism complaint was fabricated. Marcus's scheme to undermine my team because I wouldn't comply with his demands. Raj and Marcus had planned it over the phone outside the club. Marcus wasn't even there that night. Their goal was to get Ryan fired, then use that to prove I couldn't manage my team effectively. "Why didn't you tell HR this during the investigation?" I asked Dave. "I did," he sighed. "But it was my word against theirs. They denied everything." I kept this information to myself, not even telling Ryan. I needed to be strategic about this. I started monitoring the SEO team's activities closely, waiting for an opportunity. Then fate handed me exactly what I needed. Our office building had a stairwell with doors on each floor leading to the street. As a casual smoker, I'd use it for quick breaks. One day I walked in to find Raj on his phone. He turned pale when he saw me, but had to continue his conversation. "Yes, I understand the enrollment process. And the visa requirements?" Raj was saying. The conversation sounded like he was inquiring about school admission and visa details. A few days later, during a visit to headquarters, I spoke with our new office manager. You might want to look into Raj's visa status, I suggested casually. Something seems off. A week passed quietly. Then everything exploded. Raj stopped coming to work. I learned from another SEO team member that he'd been terminated immediately for lacking proper work authorization. The company declined to sponsor a new visa. Through office conversations, I discovered Raj was from Dubai, living in the UK on his wife's student visa. Her course had ended, leaving them scrambling for alternatives. That's when it clicked. In London, there's a known scam involving fake colleges that provide documentation for visa applications. These colleges operate from tiny offices, charging tuition fees to help people maintain their visa status. Raj had been trying to enroll in one of these suspicious institutions to stay in the UK and continue working. A few weeks later, I heard Raj and his wife had to return to Dubai. He couldn't afford the fake college fees without his income. When I finally told Ryan everything, he was stunned. "I can't believe they do that," he said, shaking his head. "I'm sorry you got caught in the crossfire," I told him. "Don't apologize," Ryan replied firmly. "You had my back when it mattered." Later, I cornered Marcus alone in the break room. "I know what you and Raj did," I said quietly. "Watch your step." Within 2 months, Marcus resigned. Never saw him again. People often ask if I feel guilty about what happened. My answer remains consistent. I feel guilty that Ryan was wrongfully accused and targeted, but what happened to Raj? That's on him. You don't mess with my team. The next one is an entitled people's story. I inherited my grandfather's 2,000-acre ranch in Montana when he passed away last year. The land had been in our family for generations, but I was working as a software developer in Seattle and had no experience running a ranch. Still, I didn't want to sell it given how much the place meant to my family. I decided to lease the grazing land to local ranchers who needed extra pasture for their cattle. Several neighboring ranchers expressed interest, but most were struggling due to the ongoing drought and needed loans to expand their herds and lease more land. That's when I met Tom Wilson, a vice president at Western Regional Bank. He was exactly what you'd expect from a small-town banker. Pressed suit, carefully combed hair, and an attitude that screamed, "I'm better than you." I went to discuss setting up business accounts for the ranch income and maybe helping some potential tenants with loans. "Mr. Anderson, while we appreciate your business, we simply cannot approve loans for risky ventures like ranching right now," Wilson said with a dismissive wave. "These smaller operations are one bad season away from bankruptcy. Perhaps you should consider selling to one of the larger agricultural corporations." I knew exactly which larger corporations he meant. Several big agribusiness companies had been buying up family ranches in the area. Coincidentally, Wilson sat on the board of one of them. "Thanks for your time," I replied calmly. "I'll keep that in mind." What I actually kept in mind was how Wilson had sneered at hardworking local ranchers while trying to push me toward his corporate friends. So I did some research and found a credit union that specialized in agricultural loans. I reached out to the ranchers who had inquired about leasing my land. "I'll cover the first year's lease payments," I told them. "You can pay me back once you're turning a profit. We'll put everything in writing with proper contracts." Over the next few months, I worked with 3 family ranching operations to set up grazing leases. The credit union helped them secure reasonable loans for expanding their herds. I used my tech salary to float the initial lease payments, knowing it was a solid investment in both the land and the community. Wilson wasn't happy when he found out. He cornered me at the local diner one morning. "You're making a huge mistake," he said. "Those ranchers will default and you'll be stuck with worthless contracts. Let me put you in touch with AgriCorp. They'll give you a fair price for the whole property." "Actually, my tenants are doing quite well," I replied. "The credit union was happy to work with them once they saw their business plans. Seems like you missed out on some solid loans." 6 months later, all 3 ranching families were thriving. The credit union's faith in them proved well placed. They were making their loan payments on time, and their expanded herds were turning good profits thanks to rising beef prices. Western Regional Bank, meanwhile, lost several major agricultural accounts to the credit union. Turns out other local ranchers had been watching how things played out. Word spread about Wilson's dismissive attitude toward family farms versus his cozy relationship with big corporations. The final blow came during a bank board meeting when someone leaked Wilson's emails discussing his plan to pressure local landowners into selling to his corporate friends. He'd been getting consulting fees for facilitating these deals. The bank fired him to avoid a scandal. I still work my tech job remotely, but I spend more time at the ranch now. My grandfather would be proud to see the land supporting local families instead of being swallowed up by corporations. The ranchers keep the property well maintained and even helped me learn about ranch operations. Last week I ran into Wilson at the gas station. He's selling real estate now, but not having much luck. Turns out burning bridges with the local farming community wasn't great for his career prospects in a rural area. "Still happy with your decision?" he asked bitterly. "Couldn't be better," I replied. "My tenants just signed 5-year lease renewals." Funny how treating people with respect works out better than looking down on them. As I drove away, I couldn't help smiling. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about proving someone wrong while helping others succeed. My grandfather always said the land would take care of us if we took care of it and the community. Turns out he was right about that, like he was about most things. The next one is a petty revenge story. This happened today on my way home. I was driving down a 2-lane highway, 1 lane each direction, with a 65 miles per hour speed limit. Up ahead was a semi, followed by 2 cars, a pickup, then me. I noticed Mrs. Jerk come up behind me in a white minivan and getting closer than she needed to, and was starting to make me uncomfortable. It became obvious she wanted to go faster, but due to oncoming traffic, she couldn't pass. Up ahead, there is a passing zone about 2 miles long. This highway has them every so often to allow faster cars to overtake slower ones, often semis. I started to speed up closer to the pickup in anticipation of passing some of the vehicles in front. The semi, 2 cars, and pickup all pulled into the slow lane, and I sped up closer to 80 miles per hour to get past them all. Mrs. Jerk sped up as well, and got right up on my bumper, maybe 5 feet behind me, in obvious anticipation of passing everyone, including me. Cue petty revenge. Did I mention the passing zone was about 2 miles long? As I passed the pickup and 2 cars and got closer to passing the semi, I thought to myself, the passing zone will soon be ending, and I wouldn't want to cut off the semi, so I should hang back and be polite and let the semi merge back into the travel lane. So I hung back, close to the semi's bumper, but in the travel lane. Mrs. Jerk threw up her hands behind me in obvious consternation that I wasn't passing the semi. But safety first. Semi pulls into the travel lane ahead of me, and I can almost see the steam coming out of her ears. She's still right on my bumper, but my intersection is just a mile or 2 down the road, so I'll put up with it. I turn off and she passes me and gets behind the semi. The best part? This semi was going 60 miles an hour and she had at least 5 miles to go before the next passing zone. Don't be a jerk. The next one is a malicious compliance story. A few months ago, I booked a return ticket to a nearby town over a busy holiday weekend. I wanted to do a little cycling over the weekend, so I phoned the bus company before the day of departure to check if I could take a bicycle with me. They confirmed that I could, so long as I arrived at the bus station half an hour early. On the trip down, they loaded my bicycle into the baggage hold, even opening up a special side hatch to make it easier to get it in. So I enjoyed a few bike rides while I was down there. Come the day of my return, and it's belting rain. I get to the bus station half an hour early, but sopping wet. Considerate as I am, I purchased some paper towels to wipe down my bike so it won't dampen anyone else's luggage. Then the bus arrives. I go straight over to the baggage loading area and ask the guy if I can put my bike in. He replies, "No." Do I need to wait? No, he's just not going to let my bike on at all. So I spend a quarter of an hour arguing with the guy as the clock ticks towards departure time. I tell him the bus company has already confirmed I could bring my bike, but that does not move him. He keeps telling me there's no space in the hold, even though I can see there's space in the hold. Now this is a Sunday, and I have work the next day, and it's the end of a holiday weekend, so I might not be able to get a seat on another bus, even if they refund me my money, and nobody's talking about a refund. Finally, departure time has arrived. I yell out, "Well, head office said I could take it on the bus, so I'm taking it on the bus." And I hoik my bicycle in the air and step up into the passenger section of the bus and start making my way to my seat. Now, my seat was booked for the upper deck, so I also have to hoik my bike up the narrow spiral staircase to the upper deck, which I do. My bicycle is XL size, so all things considered, I'm astonished how limited and shallow the scratches were that I left on the plastic finishes of the spiral staircase as I went up. Amazingly, no one made any move to stop me, and the passengers on the upper deck all came onto my side, helping me to secure the bicycle and making no complaint about having to squeeze past it, even though it almost entirely blocked the corridor. Every now and then, the conductor would come up to check our tickets, see the bicycle blocking the way, and turn away defeated. Every time he did so, I made sure to say loudly to my fellow passengers, "I don't know, to me it would have made more sense to put it in the hold, but it's their bus, they make the rules." And the other passengers would agree with me. The bike and I got home safely. The next one is an entitled people story. I'm not really sure where this goes, but I think here seems appropriate. So I have this friend that just kinda acts like the world revolves around her. She'll block you in the blink of an eye, yet almost everything she does is 50 times worse than what you did to her. Claim 1. She hates when people say that something she did was wrong and will defend whatever outrageous thing she did with her life. Claim 2. She overall is just someone that likes to put others down for no reason. Claim 3. I'll start with claim 1. There was this one time that she blocked me for months because I didn't give her my assigned seat. We're still in school. I always let her sit there, and I would normally pull up a chair. The desks were arranged into tables because I was always late and she would get there before me. That one day I got there before her, so I sat in my assigned seat. She got there and demanded that I got up. I told her that it was technically my seat. She said that she always sat there and I always pulled up a chair, so I should just pull one up. I said back that I let her sit there because I was always late and she got there before me. I asked why she wouldn't pull up a chair. She got mad and said I was being extra and called me an idiot before sitting at her actual assigned seat. I tried to message her after school to apologize, but she had already blocked me. The second time she blocked me was only for 5 days, but I feel like it also wasn't really justified. We were in art class, working on a group project. We included an eagle in the drawing. The person that drew the sketch gave the eagle no legs. We made a small joke about it and continued drawing. She was drawing the final drawing. She also drew the eagle without any legs, and I wanted to make a small joke, so I did. I giggled and said, "Why did you draw it like that?" I meant it in a light-hearted way, and had said something similar to the first eagle drawing. She immediately started yelling at me to shut the duck up because I couldn't draw any better. The teacher was the one that actually told her to stop. I was honestly really shocked, so I just stammered out a small sorry and we left. After school, I wanted to apologize better because I assumed that she was just stressed out because we were running out of time. I tried to message her, but I was blocked. About 5 days later, she randomly started talking to me again. During art class, she laughed at me because I was judging her when I couldn't draw crap. The third time, it wasn't me that she blocked, but it was one of my best friends. Just so it isn't too confusing, I'll call this friend N. This happened around the same time that she blocked me for the first time. She said that N was a fake friend. I really didn't know much about the reasons for this, that's all I was told. I would like to say that N is one of the best, nicest, and most supportive people I've met, so it really surprised me that that was the reason for her blocking N. The second time that N was blocked was because N had something happen, is her home life, and didn't really want to talk to anyone. Because of that, N changed her status so others wouldn't message her. About 3 days later, N messaged A, but forgot to update her status again. A then messaged me saying that N was just seeking attention. When I told A that N normally doesn't like to talk to others when she's upset, so it's not really something you can get mad at her for, A just kinda dismissed it and blocked N anyway. I'm not really sure what claim this next story would fall under, but this one seems right. So, me and A were sitting to each other in class, after she unblocked me the first time, but before the second time. We got candy for something. We were joking around, and I jokingly tapped her forehead with my candy bar. It was still wrapped, so I wasn't getting chocolate on her or anything. Her response to that was to slap me in the face with the back of her hand. I asked her why she did that, and she said I should have never touched her. She had never told me about her boundaries when it came to touching, so I didn't know. Claim 2. A is in a lot of Discord servers, and in one there was someone that had a crush on her. I think that person did something bad, and A stopped talking to them. The person tried to apologize and said they were going to KTS if A didn't respond. A didn't respond, and a few months later she messaged the person, but they didn't respond. I then came to the conclusion that they actually did it. I'm not defending what this person said by any means, but what A did after thinking that she was the reason for someone doing such a thing was horrible. She laughed about it. She would laugh if anyone brought it up and even bragged about it. Another thing happened in a different Discord server. Someone in the server posted a pic of a knife and made a poll asking if they should do it. By do it, they meant sheesh. A voted yes to this poll, then sent me a SS of it. She was joking about how she was the only person to say yes. I asked her why she would say that, and she kept making excuses. She said that the person was mentally ill for asking that. She said it wasn't like she was putting the knife in their hand and telling them to do it. She said that the person wasn't going to actually do it. She said that the person was only seeking attention. And she said that if they did do it, then they were an idiot. I told her that none of that made it okay for her to say that to someone for no reason. She simply responded with a yawning emoji, asking me if I was done yet. Claim 3. A obviously isn't horrible to just random people, but to her friends, too. We have this one friend that is barely overweight, and she loves to call him fat at every opportunity. She also is really fond of calling him stupid. The next friend I'll call S. Me and S had a friend that once made a joke about confessing his feelings to her. After that, he clarified that it was a joke, and S never had feelings for him, so it wasn't taken badly or anything. Once A found out about this, she said, "Of course it was a joke. Who would like her fat ass?" When I asked why she would say that, she just said that it was the truth. I know I didn't see the real extent that she bullied other two, but that's all I can remember right now. As for me, I loved to call me names. She called me fat if I did anything like eating. She did this to lots of people, so this wasn't really special from her. She always had backhanded compliments for me. They normally were just calling me dumb by saying even underscore 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 understood it faster than you. She knows that I'm trans, but she loved to call me flat. A always said, "You're just jealous of me because you're flat and I'm not." I always responded with, "No, I'm not. I'm trans, you know that." And A always said, "Just saying," like it was meant to make me feel bad. I was never good at drawing, and A was, so she always had something negative to say about anything I drew. I once drew something for a project and showed it to her because I was proud of it. She said, "You used a reference for the hair, didn't you?" I told her yes, and she said, "I knew you couldn't come up with that." It made me feel really bad about something I was initially proud of. She liked to drag on jokes that put others down. I once said that I was as black as something the color black. I kinda just awkwardly laughed at it. Apparently that was an invitation to continue. A then went on to list about 20 different things that were the color black that she could see. When you thought that she was done, she would say one more. She even started calling my name a slur. She said that it was an insult to call anyone by my name. A was being used to refer to the entitled friend, if that wasn't clear. That's kinda it. I can't think of anything else. All this happened in the span of about 3 years. If you think that I need some criticism, don't be afraid to give it. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.